what's really sad is the parent debt.
Yes.
And how long that parent is in debt. We're talking about 10, 20 years after their student has finished undergraduate school. They are still trying to figure out how to pay that debt back.
Oh, my God.
And that, to me, goes into your retirement money.
Absolutely. Well, hello, everyone. I'm so excited to welcome you to another episode of the Thank Me Later podcast with me, your host, Jini Thornton, where we help you master your money and transform your life. The transformation and the mastery that we're working on today is this FAFSA drama. Listen, we have been in straight drama since October, and I am so excited to have back a personal friend, a friend to thank me later. And I have to say, one of the most knowledgeable people in the world of financial aid is just the recently retired financial aid director, Lenora Jackson from Spelman College. How are you?
I'm doing well, Jini. Thank you so much. It's a wonderful thing to be back today.
And congratulations on your retirement. 30 years of executive director of Spelman's Financial Aid Office. Hats off to you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. What a major milestone to achieve. You look like you're enjoying your retirement.
Loving my retirement.
You are loving it. But I'm happy that you're here today because I cannot believe the drama that we have been witnessing in the context of financial aid. So just to kind of set the stage for everybody, FAFSA typically comes out October 1st, correct? October came and went. November came and went. Finally, the end of December, the FAFSA came out. And let's talk about what that really means, because I think it was about 3 years ago, Lenore, where Congress passed the rule or the law that the FAFSA was going to be updated.
Yes.
Great idea to update it. The goal was to make it easier. Who knew that it was going to create all the drama and all these problems for people? Not sure why the Department of Ed just didn't, do a soft launch.
Yes.
Use the old stuff, work out the kinks in the background.
Absolutely.
But it has just been a mess. Can you just kind of describe when I'm saying a mess, just kind of highlight for us some of the problems that people have been having with the process?
Well, the biggest problem, I think, is that parents want to know what they're going to have in terms of financial aid for their students going to college. Some for the first time, some returning students. And the whole idea behind the Department of Ed changing it to October 1 was so that parents and students could get award letters a lot earlier. This year, it has been a nightmare. Colleges throughout the country have waited. The FAFSA became available December 29th, but it was a soft launch.
Right.
Not everybody could get in.
Which they did not say that it was a soft launch.
They did not say it was a soft launch.
Right.
Then they came up with it was only available during certain hours. And then if too many people got on, it crashed. So we still have students who are out there now still trying to do their FAFSAs, which also then puts institutions in a predicament as to when award letters will be out. And that's especially hard for first-year students.
Right.
Because they're trying to make a decision on where they're going to go. Right. Now, it depends on where they're going and how much money that school has, whether that will be an issue for that family in terms of dollars.
And, y'all, when Lenora says award letter, what that essentially means is how much financial aid is the school going to give you? Certainly you need to know that as you're making decisions when you think about graduating seniors in particular. And so can you just kind of give some perspective? Because I think the dates throw people off. So people who are completing the FAFSA now, that is for the fall 2024, spring 2025 school year, correct?
That is correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
That is correct.
So we're working on the future, not this spring semester that we're in. Obviously, based on when you listen to the podcast, the dates might change. But again, you're always, at least a semester ahead.
Yes, at least a semester, sometimes 2 semesters, depending. When it was in October, you're looking at student is a senior in high school in October.
Okay.
But they're doing a FAFSA for them to go to school the following year in the fall.
August or September of the next year.
Absolutely.
Okay. I was happy, by the way, when they moved the deadline to October. I thought it was a great idea.
It was an excellent idea.
Took a lot of pressure off of families. Yes. So for context, let me explain to y'all what this means. On average, every year, about 17 million people complete the FAFSA. 17 million. Imagine the website does not work.
Yes.
Okay. We're talking about the Department of Education. $112 billion in grant, work, study, and student loans are awarded annually. There's a lot at stake here when this website and these forms don't work correctly.
Absolutely.
So just, I want to get into some of the challenges with the FAFSA, but I just want to take a step back first. What is the FAFSA and why is it so important to people?
So it is the number one tool that parents and students use for schools to determine how much aid. When I say aid, how much money, and we're only talking about federal dollars. So we're talking about Pell Grant, whether they're going to be eligible for a free Pell, whether they're going to be eligible for student loans, whether they're going to be eligible for work study, and also federal supplemental education opportunity grant, whether they're going to be eligible for those dollars. So those are the first dollars that are going to go on a student's award letter. Also, that's used for states that have their own their own state dollars, such as in the state of Georgia. Then we're talking about how much money a student would get in HOPE. If they're in Pennsylvania, the THEA grant. Different states have different state dollars that they use, and they use the FAFSA to determine that as well, how much money they'll get.
And y'all, when we're saying FAFSA, that stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. That's like what Lenora is saying. That's your gateway to financial aid, be it grants, loans, not scholarships, though.
Well, it depends. So it depends on how an institution awards. So they may have need-based scholarships. So if they're need-based scholarships, they're going to look at that now called SAI, Student Aid Index, to determine whether they're going to get some institutional dollars. And that's changed as well because of how the numbers come out. And, when you're ready, we can talk about that as well.
Okay. So who needs to complete the FAFSA?
Let me just say this, and that's always an interesting question because you have families who make, $1 million.
Right.
Then you have that family who makes $20,000. But I say everybody fill it out. Now, if that family that makes $1 million, they know they're going to write the check. Just write the check.
Right.
Don't waste your time. But there are those families who maybe are in the $50,000 to $100,000. I think they still should complete it because sometimes there's institutional dollars that they will look at for those students, and sometimes it will be based on the SAI that the student gets once they complete the FAFSA.
And what's SAI?
Student Aid Index. So that has changed for parents, especially those who've had students in school already. They've always known it as the Estimated Family Contribution.
The EFC.
The EFC. And now it's changing to Student Aid Index.
So not only do we have new forms, we have new terminology that people are going to have to get very comfortable with very quickly too. Wow. Now, why did they change the FAFSA? Like, what was the intention?
Well, we're talking about the federal government.
Look, enough said.
So, the idea was the confusion around estimated family contribution. A lot of families looked at that number that they received back, and if it said 0, they thought they didn't have to contribute anything to their students' education. Well, what that is saying is the department has said, well, it looks like you don't have any money to contribute, but if your student is going to go to school and they don't get enough aid, whether it's 0 or not, you still have to pay.
You have to meet the gap.
You have to meet the gap.
Right.
Student Aid Index is just saying this is a number we're going to use to determine what your student is eligible for. The difference now will be a student who gets a 0 Student Aid Index will get a full Pell, as well as a student who has a negative 1,500 will get a Pell. So now the lowest number a student can receive is not just 0, it can be a negative number.
Wow. And so everybody, as I hear Lenora sharing this information, for those of you who have high school seniors, students in college, or you have people in your ecosystem, in your family that you care about, I suggest, Lenora, people kind of step back and take some time to educate themselves so they can get confident with this new terminology, the new forms, all this new stuff. Because otherwise, to me, it was intimidating enough. Yeah. Now that we have these changes, I guess for new people, it may be not because they're not used to what the old things were.
Exactly.
But please be intentional about that so you can have some confidence when you approach this. So, Lenora, we're going to go to the Thank Me Later hotline. We have some folks who wanted to ask some questions of you. So we are going to play our call for today.
Okay.
Hey, Thank Me Later. This is Monica. My niece is a sophomore at North Carolina A&T, and I've been mentoring her and her mother through the college and financial aid process. With all of your years of experience, what advice do you have on working with a financial aid office? Specific strategies would be appreciated.
Oh, such an interesting question. The strategy.
Listen, and I know attending a HBCU, I always felt like I needed a special strategy, but then my youngest son went to a PWI. You need a strategy nonetheless. People don't know how to interact. Thank you, Monica, for that question. Please give us some insight tips on how to build that relationship and rapport with the financial aid office.
So, speaking directly to the caller, her student is a sophomore. I would hope by now that they have gotten a certain person in the office that they talk to. And it's about building relationships. It really is. Relationships are so important in navigating the financial aid terrain. Making sure that someone in that office knows your student, knows their situation, knows what you have and what you don't have. And it's almost like bearing your soul. Nobody likes to do that. Mm-hmm. But if you have not been adequately prepared to send your student to college, and I'm talking about financially prepared, then you do need that help. And I think sitting down with somebody, and really it's a face-to-face conversation. That initial conversation should be face-to-face if you can make it happen. And just really going in and finding out all of the things that are needed, what that school wants from you, how do you get extra money, what are the scholarships that are available, and taking advantage of everything that school has to offer.
So as a financial aid insider, is it better that the student is interacting directly with the financial aid office, or is it the parent, or should it be a joint effort? Because I'm wondering if y'all get tired of hearing from parents.
So that last statement, do you get tired of hearing from parents? Personally, I do not.
Okay.
But I will tell you, my colleagues do.
Okay.
And because the whole idea is that the student is an adult. And we know when they go to school at 17, 18 years old, they are not an adult.
Right.
And unless we've really prepared them how to go into the office, you have some students who come in who are very mature and can handle it. You have those students who are very shy, who don't know what to say. And a lot of times we handicap them, parents.
Right.
By taking the lead and always in the lead, opposed to getting the student prepared to go in and have that conversation. So initially, I think it should be, if you can, have a face-to-face conversation, parent and student, but prepare that student to sit in front of that person and ask the question with you as the backup. So if they don't ask something, you can kind of prompt them to ask. So they get used to asking questions. And a lot of times it's because they don't know what to ask.
They don't know what to ask.
And that becomes a real problem.
Yeah. But we do need to empower them and not for them to be relying upon their parents to carry the weight, though.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that information. So I wanted to stop for a minute, Thank Me Later community, and just give you all a few resources that you can tap into into before I ask our subject matter expert, Lenora, some more financial aid questions that I know you all have. Few resources for you. Please make sure you're tapping into your student's college website.
Absolutely.
You have to have mastery of the information that they have out there and all the resources, because they're probably going to be driving you there anyway. Please make sure you tap into that. The only other website that I recommend, Lenora, and you let me know if you agree, is studentaid.gov.
Absolutely important.
Studentaid.gov. I hear of so many parents who are logging into websites that are requiring them to pay.
Never.
Please never pay when you're completing the FAFSA. Okay. So again, studentaid.gov. You also want to connect with our Thank Me Later community. We have a wealth of resources, several other interviews with Lenora, other tips, everything that you need. Again, tap into our Thank Me Later community. You can go to thankmelatermoney.com for that. And then also check out our Thank Me Later scholarship tracker. Financial aid is wonderful. But you're going to need some additional money.
Absolutely.
Scholarships is the way to get there. Please lean into our scholarship tracker. All right, a few more questions for you. Let's talk about a few of the key changes of the FAFSA, because I was doing a little research. I didn't feel overwhelmed, though, because at first I was like, Lord, what are they doing here? These poor parents. So let's talk about a couple of the key changes. So I know one for sure is you talked about the student aid index replaces the EFC, the expected family contribution. Any other points that you want to make about that for our parents?
Not really, because as it is, students and parents don't really know why that number is there.
Okay.
So that number is specifically there for the financial aid office to make a determination on how much federal dollars they can offer a student.
Okay.
But one of the big changes, they've gone from 108 questions on the FAFSA down to 36.
Oh my gosh, that's huge.
That's huge.
Okay.
So a lot of things that just really didn't need to be there for a determination to be made, what number would be calculated. Another big change is the protected income.
Okay.
So now, rather than it being $18,000 of your income being protected against being used to calculate your now student aid index,
okay,
it's been raised by 20% to $23,000. I think it's $23,330.
Okay.
So if you now make $50,000, $23,000 of that is protected. So they won't be using that as a calculation.
As far as what's your index number.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that.
So that's very helpful.
Huge.
But it's helpful for who? Or whom?
Whom. Okay.
Okay, so let's get that correct.
Okay.
If you were already making $20,000,
then what difference does it make?
So it's going to help those that have a higher income
right
now have less money that will be looked at to determine whether their student will get a Pell Grant or other funds.
So what I hear you saying, people who desperately needed the money, doesn't sound like they're going to get additional federal aid awarded to them. They were already at the max already.
They were already at the max. But by doing that, what the federal government is looking at, that maybe another 600 some odd thousand students now will qualify for Pell.
For a Pell Grant. Okay.
So
love to hear that.
Yeah. So it does help.
Okay.
But you look at the person who makes more money. Now they get eligible for Pell. They may also have greater access to parent loans.
Okay.
Maybe their credit is better than someone making a lower income. So there's some benefits to families, but who is it really helping?
Right.
And that's what will be interesting to see. It's sort of like when the state grant was issued.
Right.
And certain people wouldn't get it.
Right.
They changed the rules.
Okay. Last change that I want to focus on is the IRS data retrieval tool.
Yes.
Because I know in the past, I think it was optional for parents to elect to have that IRS data downloaded directly into their FAFSA. So I guess that's not optional anymore.
It is not optional. And it's a good thing.
Okay. I thought so too.
It's a really good thing because what it does, it now reduces the number of FAFSAs, the office will have to verify income.
Okay.
So because the information is coming directly from Internal Revenue Service, they don't have to make that. They don't have to ask for tax returns, which is really great because students and parents, it's not just a tax return. It was the actual 1040 from IRS.
From the IRS.
Yes.
The real deal, the real return, right.
Yes, not the one you do at home, but the one you turn in.
Okay.
So because now they'll get it directly from Internal Revenue Service, the schools will not have to collect that paperwork any longer.
Okay. I love that. So one thing, Lenora, with all this drama with the FAFSA, I don't think people are really talking about the impact that it's having on colleges and universities, the financial aid office in particular. Again, we've been so focused on families, as we should.
Right.
Kind of talk about how in the world are the schools getting their footing? Do they have the right technology? Are they ready? Like, what's happening on campuses?
So those campuses that had great infrastructure, technology-wise, they will be fine. But it's still behind the 8 ball because they couldn't make the changes until, students were able to complete their FAFSAs. The issue is changing all the rules that they have set up in the systems that when a FAFSA came in, if it has this, spit out this, if it's this, spit out this. So they have to go in and make all those changes. And when you're talking about getting out award letters, most schools will start sending out award letters in December for early admits.
Right.
Schools can't start now until February.
Oh, wow.
May 1 is the day that students have to decide where they're going, decision-making day.
Right.
Yes. And so schools are really behind the 8 ball. And one of the good parts is that every school has this problem.
Okay.
So you don't
No one's ahead of anybody else.
Nobody's ahead of anyone else.
Okay.
So there'll be those schools that can move ahead quickly.
Right.
Schools that they have less money and less personnel working, they may be a little slower coming up. And that will delay award letters going out. That will delay decisions being able to be made by families, knowing how much money their student's going to receive. That becomes a problem for institutions that are tuition-driven, meaning they rely on students coming in to make payroll.
Right.
To do all the things they have to do. So schools are in a crunch and they're rushing and they're trying to get it done. And it's going to take a minute. So most students probably won't receive an award letter until probably after February 1.
Right. And so let's talk about what that really means. So what I hear Lenora saying is, particularly for those of you who have graduating seniors, if you were making a financial decision, not an emotional decision, because your child may have, that they've been admitted to the school. That's not the issue. Now you're trying to decide where's the money. You're following the money.
Yes.
You're not going to know as early as people have known in the past.
Correct.
By now, you would have known, or typically in January, you would have known.
Exactly.
Now they're going to be several weeks behind now, which is going to impact you committing to the school, and then the school being able to say, oh my goodness, we're expecting this student. We're expecting Jini Thornton to come. Now we can count her as incoming tuition for us. Yeah, I see just this ripple effect of the Department of Ed. Why do you think they just didn't push this back?
Well, Department of Ed never has been something that, when you're not in the trenches.
Right. Not on the front lines.
Not on the front line, right. Not asking those that are on the front line what's the best way to do this.
Right.
But making a decision and moving straight ahead. They had to know what this would cause for schools. And when they saw that they couldn't get it out as early as October 1,
right.
They should have pushed it back.
Right.
Because it would have been a lot easier and had it ready for the next year for October 1,
right.
Opposed to pushing ahead.
Right. And then for families who are waiting, Lenora, who we have two different types of families. We have families who have completed the FAFSA and they're waiting, or we have those who can't get through the process. What advice do you have to any family that's listening to this podcast now when they're like, biting their nails, trying to get through this process. It's difficult enough, intimidating enough too. Any advice you have for them?
Well, I would say forge ahead.
Okay.
Forge ahead. I mean, it's nothing they can do about it. I mean, being stressed about it is not going to change.
Right.
So I say every day, get online and see if they can complete the FAFSA. Those schools that are really based on federal dollars as most of their award letters, parents will have to wait. Parents have to sit down and make an informed decision. I'm not sure whether this will impact that May 1 deadline date, whether it will get pushed back. But May 1, remember, school starts in August. There's not a lot of
time,
wiggle room there for parents to make a decision and for that student to make a good informed decision. Students want what they want,
right?
And they know where they want to go to school,
right?
But a lot of it will be based on the dollars they receive. And so for those families who really are going to be making a decision, financial decision, a good financial decision, it's going to be patience.
Right. I think that's one reason why you and I clicked is we've always been aligned in where your student goes to school is a financial decision first and emotional decision second.
It always has to be an emotional decision second. One of the other things I didn't talk about is, in the past, if you got to $150,000 in student loans, you've met your match. That's the maximum. So now that has been removed from the formula. That is not a good thing.
So wait, I need you to say that one more time. You can exceed borrowing $150,000 for one degree?
Undergraduate.
For an undergraduate degree?
Yes.
And so is there a cap at all now?
There's no cap.
Oh, my God.
So that is disastrous.
Oh, my God.
As we look at the debt for student loan debt,
yes,
it's ridiculous.
Right.
And now we're telling families, okay, well, if he or she doesn't come out in 5 years or $150,000, they can borrow more money and stay in school until they finish. Not a good decision.
For one degree.
For one degree.
One degree. And so what I need you all to understand, and that's one thing, my challenge that I have with the award letter, I think it's very confusing that student loans are part of financial aid, because I think inherently people think like aid is something that you don't pay back.
Exactly.
So student loans is listed on your award letter, and now you can borrow whatever. Parents, you cannot allow your children to make these type of decisions and get strapped with this level of debt. That's scary, Lenora.
It's scary. Not just parents don't allow your students. Parents don't do it.
Don't get the Parent Plus loans. Don't leverage yourself right now.
Jini, what's really sad is the parent debt and how long that parent is in debt. We're talking about 10, 20 years after their student has finished undergraduate school. They are still trying to figure out how to pay that debt back.
Oh, my God.
And that, to me, goes into your retirement money.
Absolutely.
And how do you then continue to pay this loan back?
Right.
So it has to be a financial decision first. If they are not getting money to pay for school, and I understand, and let me just say this, I am not against debt.
Right.
There's reasonable debt.
For sure.
And reasonable debt for an undergraduate degree is just that.
Right.
The maximum I say for an undergraduate degree for an undergraduate student is $19,000. And that's all subsidized loan.
Right.
If they borrow $19,000 and that's all they have to borrow, I think that's reasonable. That's money they can pay back when they graduate. It's doable.
Okay.
You get above that, and now you're getting into the realm of, is the student even going to be able to go to graduate school? Because they have so much undergraduate debt.
There's no way for them to go to law school, graduate school, medical school.
No.
I think I'm in shock right now. I'm having a problem processing that. You say you think the max is $19,000 per year. Is that what you're suggesting? People don't borrow more than that, or
$19,000 for 4 years.
For 4 years, okay.
Yes,
I respect that. I respect how conservative that is. I've heard other people say, if you are looking to borrow more money than what your annual salary will be, then you have borrowed too much. So if you're going to be a teacher and you know the maximum that you're going to earn is, I'm just making this up, $50,000 a year, you should not have more than $50,000 in student loans. So whatever formula you use, you have to use whatever one is best for you, but you must have a cap though. You have to make your own cap since the government is not going to give us a cap anymore.
Right. I think you have to start with the end in mind. What am I going to have to pay when I graduate? Right.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you for that. I thank you for that. I want to share some resources once again with everybody. Again, please log into your college website. You want to have mastery of that. Studentaid.gov. That is the premier website that you need to be tapping into for resources and the FAFSA form itself. You can, again, check out our Thank Me Later community and our Thank Me Later scholarship tracker, and you can go to thankmelatermoney.com for that. So next steps. Sounds like people need to schedule some time to complete the FAFSA. That's an action item.
Yes.
I also am encouraging people to, whether you have a student that's in college or high school, anybody you know who this information pertains to, please make sure that you share this information.
Absolutely.
I think we've got to do a better job of disseminating this information within our community. And then again, go to thankmelater.money, thankmelatermoney.com for all of our scholarship information and all the previous interviews that we've had with Lenora Jackson. So listen, y'all. Thank you for tuning into the Thank Me Later podcast. Now, listen, Lenora is so amazing. You know we're going to have her back again, where we're going to go a little deeper into how to prepare for the whole financial aid process. Thank you so much for engaging with us. Again, we are the Thank Me Later podcast with me, your host, Jini Thornton, where we're going to help you master your money and transform your life. Now, listen. Don't y'all even be trying to track Lenora down. Don't even do it. If you have any financial aid questions, please direct them to us directly. Lenora said, listen, she just retired from Spelman. She does not want y'all looking for her, but you can certainly submit your questions to us. On all social media platforms, you can go to TML Money or me directly, Jini Thornton, JINITHORNTON. Again, thank you for tuning into the Thank Me Later podcast, where we are going to help you master your money and transform your life. Thank you, Lenora, for being here.
A pleasure.
Looking forward to our next episode together.
Thank you.